Hello everyone. Now, this is going to be... Now, I had intended that this video be a reaction video, like the last one. But this video that I watched is just terrible. I cannot, in good conscience, subject you to it. I do not want to. I'm just going to have the reaction footage I captured earlier today. No visuals of the video itself. You might hear a little bit of the audio from the video that the camera captured from my headphones. But I will say simply why I can't do this. It's not going to be in a corner of the video like usual. There's not going to be the footage of the video in the corner like I usually do. I reserve that privilege to videos that I deem worthy of being watched. This video falls so far from that. It is lazy, poorly researched, clickbait tripe. It should not be watched, but there is a link in the description to the video itself, so if you want to watch it, I'm not going to stop you. All I'll say is to Thomas fans, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. With that out of the way, we'll get to the video. Be warned, or you have been warned. I'm pretty sure you did. Me neither. Okay, I'm pausing here because the original Rage Quit said that they're not scrapped. They're not because they're only changed here and there because they were misbehaving and all that. Now, I didn't really trust that. It happens on the other railway, aka British Railways, but this is primarily talking about Thomas and Sodor. That's never happened on Sodor, not to my knowledge. Actually, I'm gonna have a look. I'm actually going to do some research. I'm going to look on the Thomas the Tank Engine wiki and look for see if there's actually any past locomotives, ones that were in the ones that were in the story of the railway series, but not actually seen. I mean, I actually did this some time ago. So let's see. There's the Wellsworth and Sudbury Railway tank engines. Was there actually anything that said that they were scrapped? Their fate afterwards is unknown, with no further mention, based on later advertisement push-pulls. It might have assumed that they were either scrapped or relocated or fitted. So there is some possibility of engines being scrapped in Railway Series lore. Nothing explicitly said on Sodor, possibly. That's the one thing I'm going to be against the initial reaction video. There's the possibility that there was scrapping on Sodor. Possibility. When the engines were withdrawn, I mean. If there was a fatal accident, then yes, to an engine, most likely. Although Henry was rebuilt in the Flying Kipper, I will note. But that's just a small bit of research. They could have actually mentioned this in the video. Or they may do. When they may do, I doubt it though. I think she's referring to Scruffy, who is a truck. not a train. And then again and again, and here's the point. Here's the point. I agree. These are not trains. Trains are what they pull. The term is either engine or locomotive. Get your terminology right, people. Ah, smudger. I can't believe I'm pausing so commonly in this case. Smudger was not dead. You could see in the episode his eyes were moving. And also the reason why he was turned into a generator, or in the railway series his railway series counterpart number 2 was turned into a water pump, was because he was no longer deemed useful and he was misbehaving. He rode roughly and came off the rails and ignored all the warnings. He was a misbehaving engine. It sounds as if they haven't even watched the episode. They're just getting it second hand. They're just getting their information second hand. Eesh. How can he have the rest of his life if he's a corpse? Hero. It's pronounced hero. That's an undercoat, not paint. This is like the coma theory of... It sounds like the... Okay, this sounds like the coma theory for Pokemon fans, which... Okay, it's a child playing in hospital. First off, why does it necessarily need to be psychiatric? Second of all, they had one unifying voice for the majority because they had a narrator. Ringo Starr and Michael Angelis. They're not kids. And second of all, after a while, they actually gave the characters individual voice actors, especially in when it went to CGI, as shown here. Ugh. That was due to budgetary constraints. And anyway, this is one thing I disagree with a nostalgia critic on his review of Thomas the Magic Railroad. Do you want them to look like ventriloquist dummies? First off, they're never killed. Even in season 5, when the show went its most Jerry Anderson-esque, it was never killed. I mean, even Rhaenyra's driver said, rather a smash than a squash. I was going to ask for the site. Also, Sir Topham Hatt never just lashes out at his engines without good reason. I mean, there were some bits here and there, like for example when Thomas comes to breakfast. It wasn't Thomas's fault that it was the fitter. It was the fitter or the firelighter, I think, who'd been messing about with Thomas's controls. We're only at number 8 and we're not even 2.5 videos in. This is a 10.5 minute video, and the recording's already about 9 minutes long. This just gives me a lot to talk. This is just giving me a lot to talk about, and not in a good way. If they start talking about Shed 17, that was a fan video! Just calm down, William. Just calm down. You're going... Just stay calm. Keep calm and carry on. You see what... One. Can't speak on behalf of themselves. They do have voices and opinions. I think they've even in Shed 17. This is actually worse than Shed 17. In Shed 17, the engines did actually have their own opinions. In that video, Henry gets into an argument with Sir Topham Hatt over what he saw in the title Shed. For those who haven't watched it, it is creepy. I'm squeamish. I watched it and I really wish I hadn't. Of course they do. It's always post-apocalyptic. No, that's not about post-apocalyptic. That is about real life events that the Reverend Awdry was commenting about. He lived at the time when steam locomotives were the mass withdrawals British Railway did for the modernisation plan. This wasn't about This wasn't post-apocalypse. This wasn't post-apocalypse. This was history. I think I can hear the Reverend Awdry turning in his grave. Town, it's an island. I know in the CGI they introduced a mayor, but ugh. What? How? I think there's a reason why the Reverend Awdry never commented about the war. There is nothing that suggests this. I have never heard this theory. I've never heard any of these other theories being talked about seriously. This is just being made up from the sounds of it. I mean, Thomas was built by the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway and came to Sodor in about 1915. And we have no record that there was that Sodor saw any real significant bombing during the war. Because the fact is, Nazi planes would have had to have gone right across the English Channel, right over the entirety of right across the north of England, against Spitfires and Hurricanes to bomb the island because it's on the other side of England. German bombing raids. If you think about it, German bombers would have probably been all blown up before they actually reached Sodor. Think. Ugh. And we're just about the halfway point. Ugh. Conductors. That's not a conductor, that's a driver. That's old Slow Coach. I don't remember this episode. Scruffy again. Have you watched? It's a nickname. Yes, we do. The Railway series goes from the 1920s to the modern day. That is 80 years. How could one specific man, be in charge of an entire railway for 80 years? We've shown from the beginning, when he first appears in Free Railway Engines, he's already in his 30s, if not his 40s. There have actually been 3 Fat Controllers, possibly 4. It's because it's gone down generational. I mean, I've considered about doing a video about how it seems that how the Railway series and Thomas fans like to encourage nepotism, but that's another story altogether. We have seen Sir Charles Topham Hatt. There was the first Sir Topham Hatt in the Free Railway Engines. Then a couple of books later, Charles takes over as the Fat Controller, often referred to as Sir Topham Hatt because it's actually a family name. And then in the more recent books by Christopher Awdry, it's Charles' son, the original Stephen Topham Hatt, who fans will recognise as the grandson of the original Sir Topham Hatt, who was there when Toby was introduced. It's been the Hatt family running Sodor's railways. Continue. They've got a job. What's the definition of apophenia? Or because that's his number? That's because Chenry was being that's because Chenry was being I know it's a bit it does seem a bit silly, but the fact is Henry was also being very rude and very silly himself. I don't even want to comment on this anymore. I think it just speaks for itself how blatantly stupid this video is. That's the narrator. I'm not gonna do that. This is one of the few times I'm actually gonna give a video a dislike. Hey, what did I just watch? Well, I'll tell you what I watched. A bad video that was poorly researched and was just. I don't even know if I don't even want to comment on it. I wish I could forget it. This has been nearly 25 minutes of my life. I'm never going to get back. Oh, no. I don't really know what to say. I'm just signing off. I can't. I'm gonna have to go through all this again, editing it. You're well. Thank you very much. Oy.